So what does the UFC do now? Okay, I want to talk about Sean Strickland. I want to talk about the next moves for the UFC. I was going to do this in the previous video that you guys will see, a 40-minute video come up about the woke journalist that attacked Dana White and attacked Sean Strickland, etc. after the fight. And it sprawled. It sprawled quite a bit because the original guy that I did the videos about yesterday and the day before where I made fun of him, that guy had a 14-minute segment, which I couldn't help myself. And I put on and reacted to. And listen, dude, if you think it's funny, the other ones, you're going to think that one's funny. But anyway, I didn't have time to do all the stuff related to what comes next for him. I wanted to talk about the hype for a Strickland rematch versus what they're going to do. All right. Israel Adesanya come back, etc. The headbutt. And also, I want to talk about why Sean Strickland fights the way that he does, and where, if there's one thing that he could do to improve, where the way I see it, I don't even think it's arguable, actually. Like, just with a person watching, and when I say this out loud, I think you're all going to be like, wow, that's true, dude. He could get way better just like that. And he doesn't even have to change his skill. He just has to change the way he thinks about things going into the octagon. And I'll probably talk more about why he's such a star. And I'll start right there. I will start right there. Then we'll talk about Izzy coming back to fight Dricus, because that's what's going to happen. That's going to be the next fight at 85. Strickland's not going to get a rematch. Who they're going to match him. Well, the factors about who they match him up with are going to be very telling, so on and so forth, etc. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I'm working really hard. I've literally been recording for 5 straight hours on a Sunday. Doesn't even feel like work because I love doing this. But anyway, so, oh yeah, why don't you like this video too, if you like the look of my jib. So let's rock. Let's start with, where should we start, dude? Let's just start with what comes next, actually. We'll start with that, right? So the Izzy and Dricus fight is going to be announced inside the next week. Dana essentially said that in his presser without directly saying, we're going to announce Izzy's coming back, but that's what's happening, okay? And that's not like I'm just pulling it out. Like when I say Masvidal and Nate Diaz are next up, or that they're fighting at UFC 300, that is like a very less just kind of like, well, they're both saying that they want to fight. Nate wants on 300. Masvidal said he unretired. I think that makes her a good matchup. Like that's just like me kind of hopefully stringing together information and being like, I hope that's what it is. This is very different. Dana was very clear that Sean is not getting an immediate rematch. Why on earth would he not get one unless secretly behind the scenes they are getting a lot of pressure about getting him out of there as the champion? I don't think that's the case. I don't think Dana gives a single. As a matter of fact, the more that they got pressure to get him out of there, I think that makes it the more likely that Dana would give him a rematch. But that's not what's going to happen. He's not getting a rematch, and the reason for that is because Izzy is coming back, and Dana and them see Izzy still as the biggest star in the division. I will say pretty much unequivocally, he's not anymore. He's not. Izzy is still a huge star. But Strickland's a bigger star now. And that is going to continue to be the case. Every time he fights, it's going to grow. He is going to be a star on a level that I believe, honestly, has only ever been eclipsed by Conor McGregor in this sport. Assuming that he keeps winning, dude. Because he won last night. We talked about that in my other video. He won last night. But if he continues to win, that is what you're going to be looking at. And so you're going to get Izzy and Dricus. And the reason for that is because Dana White, go back to the video that I did right after Sean Strickland beat Izzy. And I was like, Dana looked furious. And he did. Okay. Everyone's like, when Dana's putting the belt around a fighter, he knows the camera's right on him. But there are times where he'll get caught, on camera, like, not, I don't know about caught, but like he's on camera and he is not aware that he's on camera. And that dude is very clear with how he feels. If he's pissed, you can see he's pissed. If he's happy, you can see he's happy. And I am telling you unequivocally, in that octagon, after the Izzy and Strickland fight, when I saw him, when he was kind of just standing there, he did not look happy, dude, at all. And we know why. It's because the Dricus and Izzy fight was a bird in hand. They had this huge, Africa versus Africa thing. That's a real serious narrative that could put them in a new continent at a time when Francis just left. and he wants to bring boxing to Africa. They want to be the ones to break into that market. They need a big fight to do it. They had a bird in hand, and Izzy, when Dricus pulled out of the fight, talked Dana, and he said, there's no way that I lose to Sean Strickland. Trust me, he cannot beat me. And the UFC looked at the matchup. They're like, it's true. There's no way Izzy loses that fight. They didn't understand that. They just didn't understand how good Strickland is. And thus, that's exactly how it went down. And Dana was pissed because he lost the Dricus and Izzy fight. And at the time, there's no way for you to know how big of a star Strickland's going to be at all. You're not going to know. You know, it's one thing to have a couple good press conferences, pull off an upset. You don't know what it's going to be like when he's the champion. He goes into new market, new country for him, and does what he did this weekend. Bottom line, Strickland is a bigger star. He's the biggest star active in the UFC right now. I don't even think you could argue that. And so what they have now is they have this premeditated fight that they wanted to get back. Now, I will say that if Strickland would have won, they were going to do the rematch with Strickland. It was going to be Izzy versus Strickland. Whoever won last night was fighting Izzy. That's the bottom line. That's what it was. Whoever won last night was fighting Izzy. They're not screwing Strickland. I mean, Strickland is getting hosed because he did win. And in any other case, Dana says you won the decision, you get an immediate rematch. That's how that works. The champion gets hosed on a decision. Dana always gives him an immediate rematch. This time he's getting hosed because Izzy's coming back. So, you know, listen, here's what I want to say about first thing about that fight is talk about sucking the air out of a really hype matchup. Because like that Dricus and Izzy fight was so hype. Izzy is going to have to do his job, and he's going to have to reignite the race war. And I mean, listen, dude, I'm not someone who thinks that that's like awesome. You know, someone goes in there, starts dropping N-bombs and then bringing up South African apartheid. You know what I mean? I don't think that's necessarily like a good thing, but it'll certainly do what you want it to do, which is drum up emotion. You get half the world like, it's not a race thing. He is from Africa. And then you have, you know, the black side that is like, they're super tied to this idea that like, that's some kind of violation of their, you know, whatever, oh my God, what's the right word? Of their, not their vision of themselves, of their, oh my God, who they are as a person, but like, oh my, this is embarrassing. Identity, good God. Go get your head checked for a dementia guy. Do you have dementia? I don't know. Sometimes I forget words like identity. It's really concerning. I forgot Kevin Holland's name the other day. Anywho, so, you know, and then it's just like, and you, I mean, that's the kind of thing that drives so much emotion, man. It's so much emotion. Then they might do that fight in Africa. Very, 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 very possible they do that fight in Africa. Dana said that. So that is what's going to happen. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, Izzy needs to re-inject the fire into that flame fast, because otherwise people are just going to be thinking about how they're pissed it's not Strickland. You know what I mean? It was just insane to think about. Insane when you think about how big that fight was. So I think it speaks to how big of a star Strickland is, and I want to talk about that now too, because no one has connected with the crowd like Sean Strickland since Conor McGregor, period. Full stop. No conversation there at all. You're not going to convince me otherwise. I thought about this all day today. I do not miss big personalities in the UFC, believe me. And there's no one who's connected with the crowd like him. Not in that way where people are really emotionally invested and they want to cheer for him, you know? They not just like there's, you think about the guys who have been the best at this in like ever, and you got Conor. Chael was incredible at it, but Chael was also kind of playing a character, you know? Like everyone knew Chael was playing. He was just so good at it. He was so good at it. He was so funny that you had to react to him. He's amazing at it, right? I'm trying to think of even like, you know, Nate Diaz is doing the same type of thing as Sean, where he just says whatever he wants. And he's like, you know, I don't know. And people love that because he says whatever he wants. It's completely genuine. People respond to people being genuine. I mean, not to inject myself into this, but I really do believe that the reason why I see this comment so often where they're like, I used to not be able to stand you, and now I got to be honest, I was wrong and I really like you now. And I always say, I'm like, I don't know what it is, man. Like you keep watching, somehow that's all it is you watch one video and you're like, what's this guy doing? And then you watch 30, you're like, oh, this is really what this fucking guy's like all the time. It's like, yes, this is exactly what I'm like all the time. If you're at my house watching me talk to Gabrielle, she's like, why are you talking so loud, dude? That's all it is. Same exact person, same exact mannerism, same everything. It's just as soon as you realize, you're like, oh, this is just a person saying what they actually think. Everyone responds well to that. And Strickland is screaming it in a way. I'm not saying I'd be able to do that. What he does is incredible, dude. He knows what he's doing. He goes into New Zealand wearing a New Zealand flag, goes into Canada wearing a Canada flag. He talks about political issues that everyone was thinking about. Talks about the truckers there. He talks about the lockdowns in New Zealand. You think that, or in Australia, you think that like he hasn't thought this out? It's like, I don't understand how people don't figure this out. Now, that doesn't mean everyone could do it either. Just because you see what he's done, you go in there and you start saying the same things, it won't land the way that it does with him. Because it's like both him and Nate have this same thing, which is like there's like a part of their brain that's missing. Like the part where you should be concerned about what people think about what you say, and it just doesn't exist for them. And the other thing too, it's like I was saying this yesterday, that like I think the reason why people respond so well to Strickland is the same reason why people initially responded so well to the current presidential candidate, who I can't say his name on here without getting my video suppressed. That guy. Because even if they say some outlandish stuff, they also tells the people that you wish you could say fuck you to, they say fuck you to them, and you know for sure that those people are going to see it. And you're like, that's from me, dude. That's from me too. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Now, what the UFC does with Strickland next will be so telling, dude. Because matchups tell the story. If the UFC wants to build the cult of Sean Strickland, he ain't fighting Khamzat next. Okay? I'll tell you that right now. They're not going to have him fight Khamzat because they don't want to risk it. They don't want either of them to lose, right? There have been a million matchups in the last, just even in the last 4 years since I've been doing this, where people will be like, what if they did this guy? And I'm like, they won't do it. They won't do it. I've never been wrong about that. Never. When it's in this category, which is they don't like setting up situations where one guy is going to lose if they like them both and there isn't a huge upside for the winner. Okay? Does that make sense? And it's a number one contender fight between Khamzat and Sean Strickland. They might do it for a number one contender fight, actually. I take that back. Now that I say that out loud, that they might do. They might do that because they're both stars. Whoever, they're probably going to, actually it is possible that they make that fight. Just because because the upside is actually there. That's the thing. That's why I can always tell you, like, they weren't going to give O'Malley some kind of matchup they thought was a terrible stylistic matchup at all. The reason they did the Peter Yan fight, I did tons of content on this that went viral on TikTok, where it's like, they know age-wise, he can't get away from Peter. He's a different Peter Yan back then, This is when he had only lost those fluky things to Aljo. And they were like, listen, age-wise, he's going to have to fight him sometime. This is the best time for him to do it. You do it in a 3-round fight. It's not a championship fight. Peter Yan's coming off 2 losses. If he's going to question himself, it's going to be now. This is the time to have him beat him. And he went in there and he got it done. But aside from that, every single fight he was given was a fight they loved the matchup on. So... But again, Khamzat Strickland, you have upside with both of them because gets the next title shot. But they might want to give Strickland someone that they like the matchup better, since that's the only one that really seems like trouble to me. But still, in that fight, dude, if Khamzat cannot finish him on the ground in the first round or two, man, he's gonna get eaten up on the feet, dude. Eaten up on the feet. Sean will eat him up. But anyway, I think the UFC is like Sean Strickland a lot right now. Why would you not? If you really genuinely, are like, I don't care what anybody says. Why would you not love this guy? Okay. So here's the last thing I want to say in this video, right? I want to talk about, the thing, how Sean Strickland could, it's not even improve actually. It's have more success than he has previously without changing anything skill-wise. So I was watching the fight. So I told you guys in my previous video, I watched the fight again, right? I watched the fight again. And what I saw, it was just crystal clear to me at a certain point that Sean Strickland loves fighting so much, more than any other thing that he does. He says that all the time. He spars 1 million rounds a day. But I don't think I really grasp that, how it applies to his fight game in the octagon under the lights until this moment today. And that is that because he loves it so much, he doesn't want to be doing anything else. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. And so he doesn't actually want to end the fight. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't want to end the fight. He wants to be in there. He wants to stand. He wants to try to slip. He wants to bang you with that jab. He wants to bang, like, tons of fighters. Cody Garbrandt, Arnold Allen as extreme examples, and then others guys. They are trying to put your jaw in the fourth row all the time. That's all they want. They want to knock you the fuck out, And like Islam wants to get on top of you and rip your arm off as fast as possible. Head kick you, get you out of there. Sean doesn't. And you see that when he really starts opening up with his cross. He really starts opening. Like, he's got a lot of danger in that too, dude. And he doesn't throw it very often. And I genuinely believe, because I'm not even sure if Sean recognizes that. Like, Sean's a guy who is incredible in a million different ways, but I don't think it's an unfair assumption to think that there's a lot of psychology stuff going on in his brain that he wouldn't even understand about himself unless he sat down on the couch and really started talking through some stuff. But I fucking guarantee you, if he went to a sports psychologist and they really dug in and started asking him questions and dug into how he approaches fights and so on and so forth, that where they would get to is that the reason his fights are going 5 rounds all the time and going to decisions is because he doesn't want them to end. He wants to fight the full 25 minutes because as soon as the fight's over, the fight's over. When you're having sex with a girl and it's amazing, do you want to just knock it out and get out of there, or you want to stretch it out as long as you can? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you could put on a show and then be like, eat it. I'm just kidding. Or you could stretch it for 4 hours if you can. Daddy can. Why would you want to get out of there? That's what that is for Strickland. He doesn't want it to end. I really believe that, dude. So, anyway, that was kind of weird. I just thought about Sean Strickland in the cage at the same time I was thinking about just pulverizing get real. I feel kind of gross. I feel almost gay. I bet you Michael Ryan Ruiz would feel so insulted. All right, I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Peace.